Hello everyone, Ladislas Maurice from thewanderinginvestor.com. So today I am in beautiful Budapest with Benedek, my real estate buyer's agent. How are you, Benedek?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Great, I'm always happy to be in Budapest. So here we are at University Square. So right here is the Faculty of Law of ELTE University, one of the best universities in the country. It's in the 5th district, really prime area. So back in November, I wrote a report on the Budapest real estate market saying that people should wait before buying because it looked likely that there would be price drops. And they have materialized in a rather big way, actually. So their opportunities are starting to show up. So Benedek, can you elaborate a little bit on the latest price dynamics here in Hungary?
Sure. It's very much like that investors around the world have listened all to your forecast, because indeed prices have dropped, especially in the inner zones of the city. This is probably because of the pandemic that rendered the tourism basically non-existing. So investors that bought apartments for short-term rentals, they are trying to get rid of it. And in the meantime, since the beginning of the year, since the price drop have appeared, and they are massive, they are like 20–30% of drops in the inner parts of the city, investors have started to show up again. So interestingly though, on the outskirts of the city, where it's a more residential area, price drops are not really present, so they are more or less the same price as before. And in more rural parts or even the countryside, prices have even started to rise. So this shows that people who are living in the city, they are trying to get away from the city, and in the meantime investors are again trying to buy in with the price drops that is basically thanks to the pandemic. So these are the current price dynamics in Budapest.
Cool. Yeah, so essentially we're seeing in many cities throughout the world and in many countries the real estate markets are just booming everywhere on the back of easy money. Here in Hungary it's actually the opposite in the core downtown. So it's possible to buy gorgeous real estate, like absolutely gorgeous real estate at 30% discounts. It makes it interesting from a deep value point of view. We're going to go visit one of those apartments. I gave Benedek a brief, which was show us something really nice, just to see the sort of value that one can get here. So can you tell us about that apartment?
Yes, of course. You asked me to show a very nice property, and this is a very nice property in two parts as well, because one, it's in a very beautiful neighborhood of the city. It's full of historical buildings, it's full of nice architecture, and it's also a very nice apartment in the inside. It's 92 square meters, and right now in this market you are able to buy such an apartment for 240,000 euros, more or less. So let's check out the apartment.
Yeah, so 2,600 euros a square meter. Let's go see it. So this right here is actually one of my favorite restaurants in Budapest. Right here, they have amazing duck. So duck is a real Hungarian specialty. There's your local Starbucks. Here we are on the 3rd floor of this beautiful historical building. And some neighbors have a pretty cool terrace. There's an area downstairs for bicycles. And this is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. So there's a big storage area in there. This is the first bathroom Nice shower, walk-in shower. Big kitchen. Big kitchen.
Should I make an omelette?
Benedek will even make an omelet if you buy the apartment. Nice equipment. This is the second bathroom. Nice, clean, modern, really nothing to say. And what I absolutely love about this apartment is the living room, the living space. Very bright. There's even a big walk-in closet right here. I mean, this is such a nice place to spend time. Look at this. The first bedroom is here with a nice little desk, with a window. And the second bedroom. And look at these views. Look at the view you have here when you're working. That is very nice. Historical buildings all over. And we're very close to the Danube. So it's really proper premium. What you see down there in the end is one of the bridges, one of the main bridges in Budapest. So the Danube is literally a 2-minute walk from here. On the other side, there are tons of thermal bath options. Budapest is the thermal bath capital of Europe. Lots of stores around, but it's still quiet. Honestly, this is a very nice apartment. This is what you get for 2,600 euros a square meter these days in Budapest. Compare this to where you're from. What does this get you? Ask yourself, what does this get you back home? Thanks for showing us the apartment, Benedek. So now let's talk about yields. How much can investors expect from this apartment on the long-term market?
Well, right now the long-term market, especially in the inner parts of the city, is not very strong. So yield-wise, it's also very moderate, to say. For this apartment, realistically, if you want to rent it and not just advertise it, you can ask for like 700 euros plus utilities. So it's not much. But on the other hand, if you are willing to take a little bit more risk and try to use it as a short-term rental, yields can be much higher, although we still don't know how the tourism will get back on its feet. So it's still a very so-so option right now. For example, still in this kind of tourism, we just received the reservation recently for this apartment for 1 week for 1,000 euro. So if you are willing to take the risk for a short-term rental, you can make multiple times what you would make in long-term rental.
Yeah, because really the rental market in Budapest has crashed. I see it with my own properties. Some rents are down almost 40%. Real estate in Budapest in the last year has been some of the worst performing aspects of my portfolio, but I would certainly not be willing to sell at these levels. I already have enough exposure to Budapest, so personally I'm not looking to increase my exposure. But for people, this is a very interesting value play. You can buy at these low prices right now, and if the situation improves, you'll see a re-rating, you'll see better yields, etc. This is an apartment that before the whole situation would have been going for how much? What, 1,000 euros? 1,100 on the long-term market?
Yeah, at least 1,000, yeah.
At least 1,000 euros a month on the long-term market. With regards to short-term lets, it would have done very well. Actually, Benedek has an agency and he kind of specializes in hybrid solutions. So this would have been a great candidate for September to June, having students in, 2 students.
Yeah.
Typically for this, you'd get Scandinavian students that study at one of the medicine schools that are very close by. They can typically afford such nice places. They like this sort of design. You did a very good job with the design, I must say. And then July, August, when tourism is doing well, just milking it on the short-term market. I mean, this would do very well.
Yeah.
So this is the sort of hybrid strategy that you would offer. You also do a lot of renovations.
Yes.
So let's assume that this apartment was old, needed to be completely destroyed, rewiring, new pipes, everything, this level of design. How much would it cost for your investors per square meter, roughly?
Well, yeah, of course, every property is different in this scenario, but as a rule of thumb, you can say that renovating in Budapest from 0 to level like this, it should cost you about 600 to 700 euros per square meter. So it's really not that expensive at all. Although right now the government is also giving aid packages in for building purposes, so the material prices are rising as well. But right now it's still, I think, absolutely viable.
And I think that's also something that people in the West need to understand with regards to real estate. So sure, right now in Budapest, the yields are low. We're looking at gross 3.5% for this apartment on the long-term market. That's not very attractive. It's a bit higher than in the West for typical apartments, but not that much. But the reality is that you're buying very deep value, and maintenance is a lot lower as well. So whenever you need to bring in a plumber for something, it costs you a fraction of the costs in Austria or the Netherlands or the UK. And so you buy these deep value apartments, you get average yield, but then you wait for a re-rating, because what is likelier to double? Your property in Paris, your property in Milan, your property in Brussels, in Eindhoven, in Berlin, or this sort of property in one of Europe's most beautiful cities in a very nice building, very bright, central, for 2.6 thousand euros a square meter. So this is the sort of question you want to ask yourself. So would I go all in Budapest property? No. But would I want some exposure to this as a safe long-term investment? Yes, definitely Budapest fits the bill currently. So I'd like to ask Benedek about the whole moratorium situation. So essentially, since the situation started, there has been a moratorium on mortgage payments because a lot of landlords were leveraged. They were buying a bunch of properties, renovating them, renting them out, et cetera, and the government, to help support the market, put this moratorium into place. Now, it is likely that it will expire at the end of the month.
Yes.
So what do you think are going to be the consequences?
Well, everybody expects here that there will be a lot of failed mortgages as a result. And well, as bad as it sounds, for investors, it's a good hunting ground for low price properties, especially because banks typically, at least here in Hungary, sell these properties that has been brought back from moratorium payments. They sell these undervalued. There are actually two ways that they are getting rid of them, and one is cheaper but more risky, and the other is a bit more expensive, still cheaper than if you bought it on market price, but it's less risky.
So there are essentially two ways. One, you can buy a property from the bank, just directly. You get the property, it's in your name, it's a bit cheaper than market. The other one is a bit riskier. You typically have a family in there who couldn't afford the mortgage, and then kicking them out is complicated. It's a process that can take anywhere from 6 months to 3 years. But you get a nice discount when buying the property. So look, at the current yields, I don't feel that the play is the yield here. The play is capital preservation and also capital gains in the future. So going into a scenario like this that's a bit riskier, but where you buy with people inside that are tough to kick out, it's probably worth it because you're getting it at an interesting discount. And if it means sacrificing 2-3 years of yield, at the end of the day, it's not that big a deal because your end objective is not that yield, it's the capital gains. So Benedek, can you help foreign investors buy through such a process?
Yes, definitely. We can do that process. I personally also have a moral objective of this, because you have to kick out the families, although it was their decision to take the mortgage. So of course it's not your fault, but it's still a bit hard. But most of them actually seem to be cooperative in this process, because they also know that they cannot stay in the apartment. And so if you're lucky enough, then the process will be as short as possible. And the yield that you are losing in the process of kicking the family out, you are gaining in capital as soon as you have the property ready at your hands, and even more, I would say.
Cool. So I really recommend people who are interested in Budapest real estate to get in touch with Benedek. So he acts as a buyer's agent. So typically in the market in Budapest, you have a lot of different real estate agencies, and they don't charge you a fee. Benedek actually charges you a fee, but the difference is that all the real estate agencies just try to sell you what's on their books, and they are all liars in terms of rental estimates. I've done a lot of deals in Budapest, and I don't think I ever met a single real estate agent who was honest in terms of rental estimates, especially when they know you're a foreigner, and even more so if they see that you're new to the market. So by using someone like Benedek, sure, you pay a fee, but he'll find you the good deals, and because he's got a property management company, he can give you the real numbers, and then he takes it on himself. So it's not in his interest to bullshit, because then he'll be held accountable and he'll have some explaining to do why the rental estimates are not coming through. And then he can also help with the whole, if you want to buy it through failed mortgages, through the banks, etc.
Yes.
So Benedek's profile is on the link below. You can find out more about his services. His email is also below. Feel free to get in touch with him anytime.
Yeah, I promise I will kindly answer to your inquiries.
Cool, fantastic. Benedek, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, you too.
Lovely
meeting you.
And now we're going to go get some duck.